Welcome to Deel's first webinar series focused on hiring talent in Latin America from anywhere in the world. Latin America's close proximity to the United States time zones, along with strong English communication skills and an abundance of qualified talent, provides companies seeking new expansion opportunities significant benefits. During this webinar series, you'll learn all you need to know from real experts about hiring in the region. Everything from talent, compliance, compensations, benefits, payments, and so much more. So far, we've covered Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. Today, we'll be talking about Argentina. Next slide. I am so excited to introduce the lineup for today. We have an all-star cast here. I'd like to first introduce Nomi Cohn, who is our public accountant for Abolovich, Polano, and Asociados Nexia. Then we have Franco Pereira, who is co-founder of NEAR, followed by Guido Biagioni, head of outcomes for Henry, Natalia Jimenez, head of South America for Deel, and then myself, Thomas Dale, I'll be moderating, and I lead our partnerships team in North America here at Deel. A quick overview of what we'll be covering today. We have a country overview that will be done by myself. Then we will be covering talent with Franco. Then we'll dive in deeper and talk more specifically about developers in Argentina with Guido, followed by compliance with Nomi, and then we'll have a quick deal preview from Natalia. And then following that, we'll have a question and answer session. And I'd like to suggest that you, at any given point of this conversation, feel free to just put your questions in the chat, and we'll go ahead and cover those after at the end. A quick overview about Argentina. So our population is 45.38 million. The capital city is Buenos Aires. The currency is Argentine peso. The GDP per capita is $8,441.92 USD. The official language is Spanish. English proficiency is high. EPI score of 30 out of 112 countries. That's awesome. The payroll cycle is monthly. The time zone is GMT -3. And always, I'd like to throw in a fun fact. I do think they have one of the best soccer players in the world, which is Messi. Let's jump into our talent overview with Franco Pereira. Franco, thank you so much for joining us. NEAR is an amazing company, so excited to learn more from you. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, super excited to join. And yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of NEAR, and NEAR is a platform that helps US companies hire talent in Latin America for remote roles. And over 50% of candidates hired on our platform are based out of Argentina. So we learned a good deal about this talent market. And the idea over the next 15 minutes is to share some of those insights and hopefully help some companies consider Argentina for their global hiring plans. So yeah, why Argentina? Or a couple of reasons. Main reason, talent is great. There's qualified, highly educated, strong talent. We'll dig deeper into this one in the next two slides. It's a big topic. So let's talk a bit about salaries, which is another big reason. Salaries in Argentina are affordable compared to US salaries or European salaries. I think 30-50% of US market rate. As a reference, it depends on position, experience, seniority, industry, but 30-50% is a good reference. And these salaries at the same time are competitive for Argentines, which helps create this win-win scenario where companies save money and people here make more money than they would make working for local companies, right? But there's something more here, and the salary gap is that big that companies with relatively small budgets who maybe couldn't afford to hire in the US here can actually outpay some of the largest companies based in Argentina. So think maybe a small accounting firm, so CPA building his business, and you might not be able to hire a fresh grad in the US for $60,000, saying something. And in Argentina, he actually can. He can hire someone with 3 to 5 years of experience working at a big four accounting firm or maybe bootstrap a startup who wants to put together sales, hire 1 or 2 sales rep, but can't really compete in the US with all the VC-backed companies. In Argentina, might be able to assemble a small team and test that sales channel. The previous slide, please. Thank you. So English proficiency, that's pretty self-explanatory. Argentines speak solid English. They learn the language at school and college. Some folks take private classes as well. And something that's interesting is that we found that English level is a somewhat useful proxy for overall candidate quality. And the logic here is that most people do not speak English in Argentina or in any other country in Latin America. So you find someone who speaks English, and it proves at least that they have the intelligence and discipline enough to master the language to a professional level. And also, people learn the language because they know that it's going to improve their career prospects, right? So you know that you're interviewing career-focused person, ambitious, and wanted to put the effort into improving their prospects. And chances are they also put the effort into learning and improving some other skills and taking courses or certifications or all that good stuff. Then time zones, Tommy said that GMT -3, which is similar to Eastern, 1 hour ahead of Eastern. So the difference with the US is between 4 to 1 hour, so not a big deal. But some companies can work async. Sometimes that's just not possible for some roles. Salespeople need to jump on sales calls. Customer support reps needs to reply to customers' inquiries and complaints in a timely manner. Team meetings, team bonding activities, giving feedback to employees. There are a couple of things where being able to work with your teammates at the same time, real time, is really useful. So that's a big reason why, especially for US companies, Argentina is a great fit. And in terms of work culture is pretty similar to the US, especially in the large cities. People are hardworking, want to advance in their careers, they have a lot of discipline, which makes it great for any onboarding process. And a fun fact, maybe not that fun, but Argentina has a history of economic and financial crisis. Normally we have one of those every 10 years. And all the bad stuff that happens, like employment plummets, businesses shut down, people lose their jobs. And while this is not happy at all, it creates for sure adaptable and strong people. People reinvent themselves and move forward. Next slide, please. Education. Argentina has a strong higher education system, which combines public and private institutions. Most people, here's a list of some of the top universities in each category. And most folks get their 4 to 5 year licenciaturas, which are the equivalent to a bachelor's degree. Sometimes you'll find candidates that take some more time. It takes 7 years. And that's normally because here it's common for folks to start working full time, to take a 40-hour job when they start going to college, which is intense and requires energy, but people manage to pull it off. And normally after getting their degree, people will go get their MBAs, their masters. Actually, tons of international students that come to Argentina to get their MBAs, or maybe study for a semester or a year. Next one, please. Work experience. Many US and global firms have been established in the country and recruiting and training people for years now. So you have all the big four accounting firms and large banks who hire financial analysts, accountants, tax advisors, and multiple skill sets, from M&A advisory to US individual taxes to partnerships and everything in between. Big tech companies as well. hiring tons of software engineers, account executives, sales reps. And there's also really cool and great tech and startup scene in Argentina. The country produced many unicorns. Here's a list of some of them. And two cases that are worth mentioning are Meli, Mercado Libre, and Globant. Mercado Libre is a $60 billion company right now. Founder is Argentine, and most of their staff is in Argentina as well. Um, Both companies listed in the New York Stock Exchange with 8 to 10,000 employees each. And Mercado Libre is known as the Amazon of Latin America. Yes, next one, please. Thank you. And most high roles, software engineers, of course, are the most demanded professionals. Guido will speak in a bit about those. But yeah, I think the hiring remotely began, especially because of the shortage of engineers in the US, with salaries skyrocketing and people and companies looking overseas to fill their positions. But something really cool we're seeing is that there is demand increasing for other types of professionals as well. So SEO people, financial analysts, customer support, sales reps. So yes, it's not just tech startups anymore. So you have SMBs, marketing agencies, e-commerce brands, and really every type of company now is tapping into um, the Argentine um, talent market for their roles.
Franco, quick question for you. What drives, within your culture so many engineers? Is it taught in schools, when they're in elementary, or, what's driving that?
Yeah, great question. I think people are just interested in software and technology and software engineering. And in the last years, there's been development from government in adding new curricula and careers, yeah, new subjects and universities, both public and private. There's a whole effort, coordinated effort in the country to produce more engineers. We're still lagging behind some other countries, but the number of engineers that the country, um, the number of new engineers every year is growing fast.
Very cool.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. Next one, please. Nati, you wanna talk a bit on this one?
Yes, of course. So salary ranges. This is you mentioned it above, like earlier, that it might be less expensive to hire people in the region. This is something that today is a reality. It's been increasing, so we have been seeing that in every month that passes, it's growing a little bit more. The reason is because there's a huge demand for Argentina talent. It's not only Latin America or the US, it's the whole world that it's asking for talent. So this is why this is an average today. Like our system has the ability to show you the ranges between how much is the lower and the highest. So here you can see mid software developers to mid account executives type of payments. But definitely, as time passes by, we're seeing that all payments are becoming on the high end of the range more than in the middle of the range. So it's just for you to know that if you want to hire amazing talent, you're gonna maybe have to push a little bit further from this payment, so you will be able to get this talent.
Awesome.
You want to go to
Um,
next slide, please?
Great. So yeah, how to find talent? There are a couple options. We have hiring platforms. Here, for example, one of them is a localized hiring platform for companies that want to hire specifically in LATAM. We combine tech and a human touch to help companies fill their full-time roles. That's the other differentiator in different types of for different types of roles, really all across the board. Then you have marketplaces, which are great to find freelancers, such as TopTal or Workana. LinkedIn too. LinkedIn works. It's a bit too crowded. Recently, there are just thousands of companies posting jobs on LinkedIn, and candidates are not applying to all of them. Referrals are always good, and local job boards really those are not too good. They're used mostly by local companies, and so candidates who want to get a remote job at a U.S. company, which are companies that you want to hire, are normally not browsing, not looking for jobs at those job boards. Next one. Cool. Yeah, and a couple interesting facts and things that you might not find in Wikipedia. Inflation and depreciation during the last couple of years, and more than a couple of years, the local currency, the Argentine peso, has gone under a severe depreciation. That's what also brought salaries down in dollars. And when inflation is a trending topic right now in the US and the world, in Argentina, it's 50% per year. And so folks are really losing 4% of their income per month. That's what salaries in dollars are a huge selling point for companies, because earning in dollars helps people preserve the value of their savings and their salaries. And that's an important thing, of course. The immigration of professionals, it's been really common for folks to get an MBA and leave the country and go mainly to Europe or the US, because they want a better job, and here career opportunities are not that abundant. And remote work is a new option now that's it's like an alternative for people, that allows them to get that cool job in the industry they want, work for a cool company, and at the same time have a great salary and really improve their quality of life. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And the last one, financial knowledge. Due to this topic, which had a bit before with the crisis and stuff, every Argentine became like their own asset manager. And it's common for Argentine people to be on top of the stock market and the FX market. And they know they see their salary in pesos and go buy dollars and know how to buy dollars and are aware of all the new financial and monetary regulations. And that's something more that speaks about how people need to be flexible and adaptable here to live and work.
Hey, Franco, going back to depreciation and inflation, how is crypto playing a role in salaries and payroll and overall just preventing that inflation?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Actually, Argentina is one of the main countries by adoption of crypto. So we have tons of new startups here, and people use it all the time. Especially to withdraw their salaries, to receive payment when working both as contractors or just to receive payments from a foreign country. And everyone's on crypto, basically. There are just like even crypto towns in some provinces in Argentina where people use crypto to pay for the burgers and their beers more than pesos or anything else.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it actually is a huge. Sometimes people talk about crypto is not that useful, but here it has. It's really useful. It's a huge use case.
Very cool, very cool. I have a note here from Natalia saying that there's even crypto symbols and murals all over town, which I love that. I'm a big believer in crypto, so it's really cool to see a country adopt such a cool technology.
Definitely, yeah. Be crypto enthusiast here as well.
And it's funny, in the recruitment process, many times we have to help talking with the Argentina talent, because Franco is totally correct. They are masters on financial knowledge. They know the different type of payments. They know how to FX, what Swift, what are conversion. And it's like, wow, these people know so much. But it's like every coffee has a conversation regarding the inflation, the money exchanges, how is things moving around, how to create entities. So it's really impressive to hear all the talent talking about really complex tax information. And it's because as Franco was saying, it's been a common thing to have crisis among history. So people just turn off. It's a family conversation that it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world.
Sounds like I need to move to Argentina and work on my financial skills.
Good wine, good meat, and good coffee. So it's a good match.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Franco. Really appreciate the knowledge there. Guido, you're up next. Guido from Henry. Let's dive in more and learn more about developers in Argentina. And yes, just quick reminder, if you have questions, please leave them in the chat. We'll cover them later in the Q&A. All right, Guido, take it away.
Thanks, Thomas, and thanks you all for having us. It's great to be part of showing the world about Argentinian talent. It's great to have this opportunity. I'm the head of outcomes at Henry, which Henry is a NetTech company founded in 2020, and we're on a mission to create opportunities through education, because we train software developers for free. We invest in them and help them to find a job in exchange. That's my job, to help them how to find a job and connect them with companies. Because we are an ISA company, we have an income share agreements with our students because we are a remote coding schools which trains software engineers with zero upfront costs in exchange for a portion of their future income. So in my experience, I've worked over 9 years in recruitment, and the past years I've been specialized in the tech market. So I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So first, before going deeper in Argentina, there's one thing that you need to know about the tech talent market, not just in Argentina, but because it has become one big regional market. There is no more an Argentinian market, a Colombian, a Mexican market, or Brazilian, because as now the remote work is a reality and has come to stay, candidates can work for any country. So salaries are based on global range. So we have 5 types of companies. So this is really good for you to understand how to reach to this talent, because we have traditional companies, which are all the ones that we know. FMCG was an industry that 20 years ago was really hot and attractive for talent, but now those are traditional companies, like kind of an old school. Then you have traditional companies in transition, adapting to the new working methods. You have those that are already adapted and were quickly during the pandemic with remote work, remote technologies and collaboration. And of course, digital native companies, it's easier for them to be fully remote and also have an office, but to work in that collaborative environment. One of the things that Franco mentioned about Argentinians, but also Latinos, it's that we're really resilient. And as we've faced many economical, social, and political crises, we've become very resilient. And that gives us an out-of-the-box thinking. As you mentioned, here in Argentina, when we have financial struggles, we need to be creative and think how to solve with crypto, with other solutions to get a better income, to pay lower taxes, being legal. So it's kind of a complicated environment, but that's great for resilient people like us. And that gives us Latinos and Argentinians trust more in US or European governments than in our locals. So that's weird, but it's a fact. And of course, in Argentina, we've had a large European immigration. We have many people with European nationality, and many of them are really willing to relocate to Europe, to the US as well, as long as they have an opportunity. And many companies are doing it, are trusting in hire remote first and then bring them locally if they perform well. So that's great news for foreign companies looking for talent. So next, please. So let's dive deeper in Argentinian, because you need to understand what's the driver of devs here in Argentina, because they always look about the industry of the company, the culture that they have, if it's flexible, if it's adaptive or not, the tech stack that you use, and that's a really important thing to mention. For a candidate, it's really it's much more attractive to work in a company with a modern tech stack than working with old technologies. And usually the European and US market are the ones using the latest stack. So that's a great news to attract talent from Argentina. Of course, the kind and quality of project, if you're working in a maintenance project, it's not that attractive for a candidate, but it's a new project, new features, and new things to add, new solutions. That's great, as we are really creative and want to develop new things. Of course, they always look at the growth potential of the company and the market size where they're in. And the competitivity of them, it's based on, of course, the academic backgrounds, the languages they handle, the experience, their tech stacks, their soft skills, and of course, the approachability. And by this, it's another important thing to mention, that not many candidates are, especially devs, are that easy to find, because they move through different ways, different channels, and it's sometimes hard to find them. So those who are not where recruiters and companies are looking for them, maybe they are great talent, but they cannot access to a great company. So it's really good for you to trust in local partners or local companies understanding Latinos. And of course, as Franco mentioned, we have a really hot market right now based on cost efficiency and late global inclusion. And by late global inclusion, I mean that usually US or Europe used to outsource offshore developments, but not core developments, maybe repetitive tasks or operational developments, but not their core. After the pandemic, when they realized that remote work was a really good way of working, and the quality of development wasn't decreasing, and actually in some situations actually being better, they realized that you can have a strong team in Latin America working for a US solution, doing it greatly. So it's really good. And that happened because the Eastern Europe or India, those markets where usually companies used to offshore their developments, become more expensive in the last year. So Latin America was the last market to be fine for the world. So it's really great. And Argentina, being at the bottom, actually has a strong impact on the region. So that also improves collaboration and diversity in teams. If you have a team with people from just one location, just male or female, you are just finding one way to give a solution. But if you have a team with Latinos, with people pushing you out of your comfort zone, pushing the team to think in new ways, that will definitely improve your impact in the market. So moving forward, in Argentina, we have over 20 years of experience providing services to foreign companies. It started with telemarketing in the early 2000s. Then it has upgraded with the improvement of the internet connection and solutions. So shared services centers for maybe accounting or collections started to grow, and now there's the remote talent market, as Franco spoke a lot about it. And that created 12 unicorns, which is the second country in Latam with most unicorns and the first in unicorns per inhabitant. So that's really great. And all of them are tech unicorns. There's no other company with from other industry. They are tech-based companies, and that's great because that provides and fills the market with great talent. They prepare, they train them, and they're ready to be hired in international markets. The highly regulated economy, as Franco mentioned, reduce net salary. So working for a foreign company, it's another important thing, not just for the currency, but also for the deductions that they receive. Many of them really love to get their salary by Deel because they don't have those deductions. And of course, remote work increased the market size. Argentina, it's a really large country in terms of provinces, and that in the past years, people needed to move to Buenos Aires, the capital city, to work for the top companies, or maybe 2 other cities have big companies. But now with remote work, you have people working from all over the country for anywhere in Argentina or the world. So that's great because it's a really large market. So diving even deeper in the tech market, our strongest is the fintech. We have Voila, Mercado Libre, as it's the Amazon from Latin America. One of their strongest business units is their fintech unit, and it's great. As we are a country with wine and great meat, the clean tech, green tech, and ag tech industries are growing a lot with amazing solutions in and attacking one of the biggest problems in the world, which is global warming. So that's really great with bioplastics and other solutions. It's really great combining technology with all our knowledge in these sectors. Also, Argentina has the fastest e-commerce growth globally last year, growing by 79%, which is great. And of course, having the Amazon from Latin America here, it's kind of obvious. And that's having those many unicorns, these kind of companies make us early adopters in new technologies. And for example, Mercado Libre was one of the first companies in Latin America to use Go, the language, the tech language, in their development. So that's an example, but many other, they started using Node.js and other JavaScript solutions many years ago. So the biggest trouble that companies have when they are looking for candidates using the newest technologies is that maybe they don't find the candidates with enough experience on them. But here in Argentina, with these large companies and large unicorns, you are more easily able to find them. So that's it, and it's an amazing market, ready to connect with the world. So if you have any other questions about it, of course, leave it in your comments, and we'll go over them at the end.
Awesome, Guido. Thank you so much. It's so cool to see the financial literacy and the ag tech kind of stem from the culture of Argentina. So thank you so much for sharing your insights, and really appreciate you joining us. Amazing. Cool. Now we will have Nomi Cohn. She will cover compliance. So excited to have you, Nomi. Take it away.
Okay. Hello. I will cover something boring. The legal and compliance regulation regarding employment in Argentina. Please note that there is permanent challenge to most regulatory matters as we face the COVID-19 new reality. We are almost in the post-COVID phase. Let's start with showing the two main types of relationship entity employment in Argentina. So we have the full-time employment, which is up to a maximum of 48 hours a week or 8 hours a day, or up to 9 hours a day in case of unbalanced workload. Then we have the part-time work, paid at least proportionally to time work, and fixed-term contracts. These are contracts, seasonal work, or up to 1 year, maximum upfront written arrangements. Some special regulations apply to night and unhealthy work, either working less hours per day or night, as well as certain restrictions for employees aged less than 18 years. The other relationship is freelancer or contractors, mainly people working on their own without a legal entity umbrella. One fact to take special attention is the employment relationship, due to the fact that labor authorities may determine that contracted people work as employees for an entity and require legal protection as determined by certain indicators: type of relationship, the length, the exclusivity, the timely and equal payments, labor leaves, 13th salary, economic dependence. It is a matter of substance over form. There you see monotributistas. This is a term you will have to learn if you hire in Argentina. It's a special regime for freelancers with up to medium income, while VAT is a general regime applicable to freelancers involving higher revenues and subject their invoices will be subject to a 21% VAT, value-added tax. Can we move to the next slide?
Quick question, Nomi. Culturally, what do people from Argentina want from international companies? Is it full-time employment, or do they like being a contractor? Which one do they culturally?
I would say full-time employment and a formal employment.
Cool.
That
Awesome.
means not a freelancer to avoid any contingency, but it's expensive. It's more
Okay.
expensive.
Okay. Makes sense. Cool. Thanks.
Okay. So let's go to which documentation is required to hire an employee. That's a national ID, and in the case of foreigners, they will need an allowance, a local residence to work. The tax ID, the employee will have to get their own tax ID, and that's a medical examination, which is mandatory before starting work. Being this matter easily fulfilled, contracting a company responsible for delivering a good standing health certificate. That means it's a responsibility for the employer to employ someone without this approval, because you have to identify that at the time of employment, no any illness exists. The chart below shows the main withholdings applicable to a monthly basis on employees' compensation plus the employer contribution. That means on the left column, you will see what is withheld on the salary of the employee, and the right column has the contribution of the employer. Additionally, there is income tax withholding. That means income tax is paid by the employer on behalf of the employee. It's withheld from the salary, and it's on a progressive rate, which goes up to 35%. Can we skip to the next one? Unless you have any question.
No, I think we're set. Thanks.
Okay. The union set minimum wages to affiliate employees. However, non-union side employees' compensation is mainly an offer-demand decision. Minimum wages are a benchmark since the market usually validates the higher salaries. Having said this, union employees are usually non-professionals, and there you have the minimum salary you can pay. These amounts are as of March, and here, knowing Argentina is important, this indicative, because it changes. Sometimes it didn't change every month, but it changes very frequent due to the high inflation rate. Last month, we had a 4% monthly inflation rate, even more. Bonuses, that means bonus on salary, additional to the salaries, to the monthly payroll, pay the same, are subject to the same withholding taxes and pay the same contributions. Also subject to income tax. That means the same treatment as salaries. Okay. I think we skipped one. No, okay. There we are. There we have the minimum annual vacation regimes for employers, starting with a 2-week period for new hires. The progression goes from 2 weeks up to 5, depending on the length of the employee and the relationship as shown. However, to be considered, due to seniority, managerial positions usually arrange an initial 3 to 4 week annual vacation period, regardless of length of relationship with the employer.
Can we get the slide really quick? Whoever's controlling slides, let's make sure we're on the right one here for Nomi.
No. This was the last one, and we already skipped to the next one.
Yeah. I think you were talking about vacation, which is the next slide.
Yeah, but you already were at the next. It came back.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, there we go.
There, I already mentioned about the minimum vacation to be granted to the employees, and I also mentioned that this is legally request, but usually if you hire an employee with seniority, you already start paying more than 2 weeks of vacation. So public holidays, we have approximately 10 in the year, additionally to Easter, Christmas, New Year. Usually holidays are moved to a Monday, so that you can have a long weekend, or if they are on a Thursday, maybe I would say twice or three times a year, you have in the middle what we call like a bridge, which is you have a holiday on Thursday and take the Friday. Regularly working hours, we already mentioned it, are 8. And how is the overtime paid? That means overtime is paid up to certain seniority, which is paid after 6 p.m. on weekdays, and Saturday till 1 p.m. is paid a 50% surcharge, and Saturdays after 1 p.m. and Sundays or holidays is paid 100% surcharge. Okay. Okay, here we talk about what else is added to the salary. Expenses related to the employee's benefits paid by the employer, such as schooling, housing, or reimbursement of non-related labor expenses, are considered part of the employee compensation and therefore subject to contribution, as we discussed in the previous slide. These payments should be grossed up to determine employee annual gross compensation, and for high-level employees may end being a significant extra cost. Senior manager and directors may be rewarded with the assignment of a company car or the recognition of a commuting reimbursement. These arrangements are company-specific and highly dependent on the industry and the custom and the practice. Moving to the parent leave, although local legislation still shows a disparity due to gender, because you see you have 90 days for the mother and at present only 2 days for the father, this should change very, very soon. And additionally, there are for mothers 3 to 6 months additional leave period without compensation, and employer is requested to maintain the job position during this period. Okay, and also there are certain other specific authorized leaves due to marriage, 10 days, or death of a close family relationship from 1 to 3 days. And if you hire students, university students, you have to grant up to 2 days per examination or 10 days in the whole year. Then there are some leaves for serious illness up to 6 months.
Very cool. Nomi, I'm curious, in legislation or law, do you foresee that they're going to balance that out for parental leave in the next coming years?
I would say, I assume, it's my estimate, it will not be up to 90 days a day as it is for mothers, but it will be much more than 2 days. 2 days at present sounds too very short. There are a lot of companies who already grant more time, maybe a month or so. But based on our present law, which is very old, it still is 2 days.
Love that. Guido and Franco, what are Near and Henry doing as far as parental leave, or what are top tech companies doing?
Actually, it's now focused on the talent. You need to listen to them and what they are looking for, because that's what companies are doing. For example, Mercado Libre, it's also among their benefits. They offer, I don't know how to say it properly in English, so excuse me if I do it wrongly, but how to frozen women eggs. They pay for that treatment. I mean, that's an amazing benefit because that's where they went to improve women in tech, and also about paternity leaves. They offer, I think, up to a month or 2. So many companies, regarding benefits, the local regulation, it's not that good for the employee. So usually the normal practice is to improve them, regardless what local regulation says.
I love that. Focus on the talent.
Yeah, I would say, and based on our experience, there there are general informal agreements for each case by case, as Guido says, based on the talent. And usually parents, they took a longer leave, but like informal, they keep on collaborating, but they are at home with their newborn and so on. What I didn't mention from this slide, probation period, which is 3 months. What does it mean? You can, after these 3 months, if you want to dismiss your employee, you have to pay for a severance. You have a 3 months period where you can probate. That means know your employee, and if it doesn't work, you can dismiss it.
Cool.
Okay, let's go to the next one. By setting up the own entity, which are pros and cons. That means setting up a permanent establishment in Argentina. There are pros and cons in establishing a formal employee-employer relationship, or on the contrary, hiring a person on an agreement. That means not an employee agreement. Decision should be made considering, among others, long-term relationship, level of responsibility, type of work, company culture, and commitment, identification, and to certain extent in cost involved. Full-time relationship may involve employee exclusiveness. That means you will have the employee more identified with the company. Keeping a human resources function and a payroll department means also at extra cost and a heavy burden to many small to medium-sized business. On the other hand, monotributistas and contracted personnel, what we talked about at the very beginning, a relationship may involve higher conflictivity level after termination, but to some extent, risks are often offset with lower payroll cost. Vacation, sickness, leave, and any additional payment should be included in non-employees' monthly compensation package and not paid or invoiced separately to avoid any future labor claim. It could be that that means in the last few years, we noticed a trend to manage contracted freelancers' work relationship rather than full or part-time employment. But final decisions lie on market conditions and how to better level pros and cons and avoiding conflict. That means you can have conflictivity because engaging monotributistas. But at the end, that means what we always heard from our clients, okay, I employ 10 and I have conflictivity with 1, and it's still cheaper than having that many employees. Can we skip to the next? Okay. The documents required for contracting and freelancer is monotributistas. We need their tax registration, even if they are like called monotributistas. We need their tax registration, and for the freelancer who are VAT registered, we need also all the registration and check that their invoices they issue are legally accepted. Which are the contingencies, as I already mentioned, the hidden employment relationship. That means it's very contingent if you have a freelancer who invoice only you with invoice number 1, 2, 3, so a sequential numbering, and every month the same amount. And in Argentina, on the 6 months on June and on December, there is paid what we call a 13th salary. Half of the 13th salary in June and half of the 13th salary in December. So it's very common to see monotributistas who charge a 50% surcharge on these 2 months. So this is very contingent. contingents, because social security tax potential requests could arise by the tax authority. So saying, hey, you owe me all the social security taxes on these payments, or the contractor, as already mentioned, the contractor request for an employee relationship. Once we say, okay, we don't need you more in our company, and say, okay, but it's like I have a relationship, so I am subject to a severance payment.
That is complex.
Yeah. Okay, and just as a summary, why hiring in Argentina? There are affordable salaries as we compare professionals working in the US with professionals working in Argentina. There is a huge difference. But we have a high inflation rate. What happens, as it was already mentioned, I think by Franco, we had for the last years more than 50% of annual inflation, and we already estimate we will have at least this percentage this year, if not more. And it's like the salaries always lose a little bit with inflation. It's very hard to catch up. As already, I think we already covered the informal and the non-registered employment. But what happened usually, and what usually happened to firms like ours, we have to compete when hiring people, and we want to make all legally, and we pay all the social security taxes with informal unemployment, which do not pay this kind of taxes. So there is, or with people who hire monotributistas, as I mentioned. International contractors competing with local contractors. In this case, we have a lot of people residing in Argentina working for abroad and earning on international salaries. Different payment alternatives. I think this will be a subject by its own, because as you know, we have different exchange rates for the dollars. There is different ways of getting money into the country, getting money out of the country. So this will be a subject for its own. And it's hard to get accustomed to Argentina in this way. And that's why, as you already mentioned, every worker in Argentina knows about finance. And conflictivity, okay, this happens, and I think this happens all over the world. You are subject to lawsuits, but more subject you are if you hire monotributistas or any kind of freelancer. But again, it's like a balance between a more accessible alternative, cheaper, but more contingencies. I think this covers the presentation.
Amazing. Nomi, thank you so much for joining us. You're a wealth of knowledge, so really appreciate everything that you shared with us. Okay, we're going to go Deel speed, which is a term here that we use at Deel. Natalia, can you please give us a quick Deel preview, and then we'll jump into a quick Q&A.
Amazing. So I won't take much time. As we were talking about, contractor model seems to be an interesting way to hire in Argentina. We have a lot of questions regarding how they withdraw their money, how they're going to be able to pay their things in sites, or we're going to take them as soon as possible. So just for you to have a preview, how do I hire? So if I get this talent, okay, now what next? So you will go here, you will go to create a contract on the left. There are several types of contracts, per hour, fixed, every month, every 15 days, however you want. I will do a little test here. Let's say we're going to hire Juan Perez. Juan Perez is in Argentina. Job title, let's say he's a developer, let's say a backend or something similar, backend developer. Seniority, let's say he's a senior. What are they doing? Let's say they will start on April 1st. So here you can put on the date. And here you will decide if you want to pay in dollar, in pesos. As they mentioned, dollar seems to be a really attractive thing. And let's say they were going to pay $3,000. And here you will be able to see all the ranges. If you're in the median, in the average, or in the higher, it's going to be a little preview for you to have an idea of what's going on right now. And you will go next over here. You will find options to go pro rata or not. Termination dates, notice period. Even if you want to add stock options to this plan, this is something that it's really common now. I think you're aware. So this is an easy way to engage with Argentina talent, and it gives some stock options for them, clauses, and that's it. Basically, you can put a click, create a contract, and the contract will be legal between your local entity where you are in the US, Europe, Latin America, and Argentina. So you will mitigate risk. You will have a legal contract that it's easy to review, that it's simple. If you want to edit the contract, you will be able to click on here and edit some parts of the contract. And finally, you will sign here with client happy, and that's it. So that's basically an easy way to do it. You will invite the contractor. So once the contract is signed, you will go here and put the email, and that's it. The person will create their own dashboard, will create their own platform, and they will be able to decide when to withdraw, how much to withdraw, and the currency and the method that they like the best.
That was amazing. Deal speed for sure. Thank you, Natalia. Let's jump into Q&A with the last 3 to 4 minutes. So what does Argentine talent care about when choosing among equally paid job opportunities? Anyone can take this.
Cool. So I will start. In my experience, what I have been seeing is that, especially in development, they want to build new things. So there's a challenge of what I'm actually building. So if you have a project in which they will feel empowered and they're going to say, okay, I'm actually going to build this by myself, that's definitely going to be something that it's important. And that's what are you doing, not only the payment. And second, the flexibility. So if you pay them equally, but you only give them a bank transfer to Argentina, or you only give them this option of co-working or this option of computer, they might be not that interested. They might want more flexibility. So they will decide what payment method, they will decide what type of benefit, and they will decide what type of co-working might work or not, depending on the region they're located in. So I would go with those two.
Amazing. Next question, unless anyone has. Okay, Maria Victoria wanted to ask, what about people who work as contractors? Question mark.
Okay, is that about, I don't know what time or where were we discussing? But actually, people, as I mentioned earlier, we trust more in foreign governments than ours. So despite if it's a contractor agreement up to a year, it's no problem for us, as long as the relationship and the informal contract says that this is a long-term opportunity. That's what they're looking for. Of course, the contractors agreement, it's the only way some companies has to do it. And not many countries can do contractors agreement for foreigners. So US can, and of course, we prefer a more formal contract solution, but as long as it's a long-term opportunity, it doesn't matter.
Amazing. Next question. What is the standard when getting contractors? Maximum length? How often can we renew?
I think I've already answered that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's common 1 year. Normally it's might be renewed. So it's really common. And there are fixed contract. That means you pay monthly on a regular basis, but they're also per hour or per project. So it's really flexible, but definitely 1 year, it's the common least amount of a type of contract as an independent.
Amazing. Why the contractor model is growing so fast in the country? Where are the companies paying their talent from? Entities in Argentina or somewhere else?
Okay, important question. So it's growing, just like as Giru said, like they don't trust in government, and since inflation is really hard, so you need to receive dollars, and you can't be an employee and receive dollars right now, or at least not the total amount of the payment. So that's basically why they want to be contractors, so they will be able to receive dollars. And basically, if you save your dollars in your account, you're investing, because the currency is going lower and lower. So basically, you're earning money, withdrawing your dollars later. So that's basically the main reason why they prefer it. And Argentina companies, they have both models, so they have to pay in local currencies. That's what law demands. So they can't do much. But some other cases, they have other entities, so they hire abroad, and in those cases, they can pay in other currencies. But definitely, that needs a legal specific advice before doing it.
Amazing. We'll do one more. I know we're a little over time. If some candidates are from Argentina and we pay them with Deel, how can they use the money in a legal way in the country, being hired as contractors? There is a way?
Yes, there's always a way. You can withdraw in a local bank account. The thing is what type of FX you will receive, what type of currency change you will have. So yes, they can do it. Many do it. It's not about being legal or not, but some people say, hey, I'm going to live abroad, or I have a company, or I want to pay someone else abroad. And that's where they have the flexibility to also choose crypto or other types of payments. But more than legally or not, it's how they decide to withdraw their money is one thing. And another thing is how they pay taxes. So we have to differentiate both and make sure your team is paying taxes as independents in their countries.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, okay, I have one more here. How is the situation hiring people full-time with the exchange issues? Generally, the people willing to work for abroad want to earn USD.
Yes.
Yeah, not just USD, any strong currency. Euros, it's also good, but as long as it's strong currency, as Natalia said, our local currency, it's depreciating every month. So as long as you have a strong currency, you're not losing money, which is the first way to invest. And so USD, it's the most usual way for investments and for companies, but also other currencies work even as better as USD.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we are at time. Franco, Nomi, Guido, Natalia, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you so much for your time. And to everyone that's listening now and in the future, thank you so much for listening. We really do all appreciate you. Any last words from our guests?
Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure. And of course, we all here love to show the world about Argentinian talent. So happy to help you with anything you might need.
Argentina talent is great. I am not Argentinian, I can say it. So keep it up and go and hire everyone. Great talent over there.
Yeah, it's been great. Exciting.
Hopefully we keep on working together.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you all. Please feel free to check out Deel. If you want to learn more, you can find a demo on our website. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
You guys, take care.
Thank you.